Hello and welcome to the DXbiz Dev call for September 5th, 2022. On the agenda today, we have Mike from PoolSharks, who's gonna tell us a little bit more about Ocean Book Protocol. Under the DXbiz discussions, we'll continue talking about the restructure. Wait, someone is not muted. Yeah, thank you. So we want to talk a little bit more about the restructuring plan that's been in the DAOTAC forums for over a week now. Some questions around that. Character activation discussion for DevCon. And then other DX events, we have a few people who are going to be at MCon, a few people who are going to be at DAppCon in Berlin, and of course, Infinite and Bogota and DevCon. If we have time, we'll also talk about NIMI next steps. So without further ado, Mike, are you here?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, so I guess, Mike, you have the mic.
Great. Yeah, so my background is from Web 2, done a lot of stuff with Kafka, Elasticsearch, distributed systems, event-driven systems. And over the last year, I've just been hacking. Started with the ETH Online hackathon last September, so like a year ago. And just always been interested in automated trading, ways to run more efficient markets. The first problem that I ever wanted to solve was impermanent loss. And I remember seeing the launch article for Uniswap V3 and thinking like, okay, my hunch kind of tells me like this is not really enough to solve impermanent loss. And the name PoolSharks sort of comes from this idea of doing more with your liquidity, maximizing your liquidity more. So I always wanted to give everybody sort of fair access to tooling to manage their liquidity positions. And I've experimented with a lot of different things. Was playing around with having a contract that people deposit into, and then they can kind of like batch up transactions together using the graph and Gelato. And that kind of led us to thinking like, okay, what if we can have these off-chain liquidity providers that are providing liquidity exact prices via like an order book scheme, interact with people on chain. And then we just sort of came up with a design that was a more efficient, gas efficient design from the perspective of the taker, wherein each price point sort of functions like this queue. So you sort of have this volume counter that you keep, and this enables a fixed gas cost to occur for takers that are exchanging. So this, I believe, is like the biggest problem in the growth of this specific space. Like there really hasn't been a lot of innovation in the like order book DEX space. And I believe it's ultimately about experimenting with new data structures, new ways to do markets. I just recently read a research paper that was stating that once block space becomes plentiful and cheap enough, like there definitely is a future for order book exchanges. So I'm really curious to see how we can develop these different market mechanisms. I'm like specifically focused on creating a secondary market for options tokens to trade right now, such that it's like a one-way trade. There's limited liquidity in those markets, so doing some sort of priority queue, I think, makes a lot of sense. Just like really focused on inefficient markets right now, options, derivatives, potentially GameFi as well, having support for 1155 to ERC20 exchange. So that kind of, I think, covers most of what I've been up to the last year. And if you guys are interested, like feel free to reach out to me with questions, or just go ahead and pop questions right now if you have something on your mind.
Yeah, so I mean, this is really interesting. Wondering, like, sort of like the first thing that comes to mind is will this be able to integrate into Swapper, which Swapper is sort of like our AMM DEX. So I don't know if you know much about it, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware. I think definitely so. The sort of use case that I see for mainnet for exact pricing is doing over under AMM pools to prevent price shocks. So, like for example, you have a stable coin and someone's coming in with a huge order to move the price like one way, and normally you, the fee structure is such that you kind of get diluted by the pool. So the pool rewards oversupply of liquidity to reduce slippage, and instead you can say, okay, I'm going to provide this liquidity at a better rate than the pool can give you, and that person who provides that liquidity would get 100% of the fees and not have any pool dilution. So I think there is definitely synergy with AMMs, even on mainnet. You can ultimately just check the TWAP on, for example, on like a Uniswap V3 pool. I don't know if you guys plan on having a deployment that is similar to Uniswap V3. Next year, the 2-year exclusivity is supposed to expire. I don't know if you guys have plans for that.
Yeah, I guess not in the moment, but I don't know if anyone from Swapper wants to jump in.
Mike, when we chatted, you also mentioned the constant time can you, and how that plays into the fixed price. Can you elaborate a little more? And also, like, throwing those ideas out there, like how production ready are you, and at what stage of development you are, what kind of help do you need, and what is your like go-to-market strategy?
Sorry, can you ask the first bit again?
Yeah. Last time we chatted, you mentioned about the constant time and how that plays into the fixed gas. So
yes,
if you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, let's
Because
start
it's
there.
difficult when we're not visualizing, and
Yeah.
it's a bit hard to wrap people's minds around this. So yeah.
Let me actually see if I can share my screen here really quickly. Okay. So essentially how this works, how you provide a fixed gas cost for this, is you have a volume counter. So the taker is going to basically move this counter every time that there's a trade. So ultimately the makers on the left side of the counter, those are filled, and the makers on the left side are filled. The makers on the right side are still waiting to get filled. Does that follow so far?
Yeah, just trying to fully get it, but yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah.
So basically, when the makers go to claim, they will check this counter here. If the counter is past the point where their order exists somewhere in this range, then they are filled. They can claim their output plus the fees on top. So we completely abstract away the idea of orders, and in doing so, we're able to achieve a fixed gas cost.
And so is that also like a just-in-time liquidity, a bit like a flash loan thing?
Yeah, I mean, definitely this is ideal for people that are flash LPing, right? Because if they supply the exact amount of liquidity, so let's say here there's $1 million in liquidity, the maker would receive 100% of the fees for that.
And
simply
in
because
a way,
you're not sharing in a pool.
In a way, this is even more efficient than Uni v3, right? The quote that this would provide would undercut the Uni quote.
Yes, because there's no slippage, right? So a maker would essentially provide a quote that would be competitive with the uni pool. There would be the slippage of the quote unquote slippage would be dependent on how much liquidity is there, but each bit of liquidity is provided at an exact price. And the reason that you're able to undercut the pool is because the pool is a two-sided curve, right? So when we have an AMM, that's a two-sided curve. And we don't differentiate between trading directions, right? This represents both trading directions. And you can't say if you're on one side of the curve, if that's a better price, because you don't have split directions for trading, because it's one side is a better price for one direction and a worse price for another direction, right? So if the price of ETH is 4,000 DAI, that's a good price for somebody that's going ETH to DAI, but it's perhaps, we'd say, a bad price for someone who is buying ETH.
And so when on Uni v3, when it goes out of range, you get all of like because you're providing both assets, one gets converted into the other. You end up with just holding one asset. In this case, it's kind of like single-sided provision of liquidity, and it's bidirectional, no matter which way it goes, and even if it goes out of range, right?
So in Uni v3, you sort of define your range for your liquidity, right? And once you're out of that tick range, then it stops trading. In this, it's just basically you're providing one-sided liquidity. And then when, like I said, when that liquidity is used, then you're essentially filled. So there's no AMM structure. You're providing an exact rate, and you're matching peer-to-peer based on your rate. So if you buy up to 4,000 DAI per ETH, you'll get matched on both pages here, both sets of liquidity. So yeah, to be clear, there's no AMM structure. It is simply we have this liquidity at this price.
So
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead, Nathan.
At what stage are you in development, and what's the go-to-market strategy?
Yeah, so currently I'm working with pre-auditors on sort of getting security-related feedback on the code. There's a few things that need to be added, namely gas cost protections, also TWAP oracles as well, so that if this is being used for low volume markets like options tokens and that, people that are offloading risk, they can sort of get an ideal price of what that is going for. As far as the go-to-market strategy, I plan on launching on Ethereum mainnet as well as Arbitrum. Arbitrum has a lot of strong options protocols. And so far I've talked with DopeX, I've talked with Risk that does, they do an options structured product. And Risk basically had said that they would use this as a way to either offload or onload risk and sort of seek arbitrage in the market. As far as launching on mainnet, we'd basically be pairing these books against Uniswap pools. And then, like I said, you'd be able to undercut, give better rates against the pool if it's sort of trustless in the fact that, like, hey, let's check the two up on Uniswap. If the rate there is better, just direct the trader to Uniswap. If we can provide a better rate, then match them with that. And I plan to launch this in November.
Good. Yeah. If anyone has got any questions, we've been chatting to Mike. He's open to exploring both having an investment possibly from DX Ventures and even being incubated by DXDAO. So if many of us here are non-technical, if we haven't got a possibility of asking meaningful questions, we could just straight take it to a Telegram group with the developers who could interact with Mike intimately and see how we could make something mutually beneficial out of this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think Venki was just writing in the chat that this could be very interesting for maybe like the next iteration of Swapper, or I don't know. This is kind of like ties into like previous discussions, but yeah, like, you know, the future of Swapper has, I guess, a few question marks around it, and then, you know, if there's an option for collaboration with something like this, then maybe it changes some of these things. So yeah, just sort of like exploring in that regard.
Yeah. And it's interesting how we met with Mike. He actually attended one of our events in Paris that we just organized with Gnosis Chain. He enjoyed our party, and I was lucky to meet him there and have a very interesting chat. I even got a T-shirt of PoolSharks. rare swag.
Yeah, I sort of wish that we were able to do a specific set of swag for Paris. I thought your guys' swag was quite impressive, but yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised at how the scale of the minds that were at this event, and yeah, just some really high quality, amazing people that were brought together.
Thank you.
Yeah, amazing. So thanks, Mike, and I think yeah, let's open a Telegram group maybe with the Swapper team and see how we can move this forward. Yeah, a couple of verticals. Yeah, so thanks again, Mike, and I guess we'll see you around. Yeah, so up for the next sort of topic, we have the restructuring plan that was posted by Geronimo about a week and a half ago, I think, maybe even 2 weeks. And yeah, I think I'm assuming that many of the like independent squads in DXDAO have been sort of like chatting about some of the topics that have been raised there, and I think, you know, we also did in the DXbiz team. Yeah, and I think like I also spoke to some, like personally, I spoke to some people who are not even in like crypto, but yeah, just like people that I value their opinion, and, you know, sort of like try to explain, you know, what this is, what DXDAO is, and what we're building, and, you know, how good things, like what could we do to change, you know, some of the things that are happening, and, you know, for the better. And yeah, I had some like interesting interactions in these regards, and I think like the main sort of feedback that I got was actually around yeah, the goals. Like a few people told me we don't fully understand like what are the goals of the organization. I think this is I guess where this discussion is where we can start it at least. So like, what are the goals of DXDAO? And yeah, I don't know. This is sort of like an open question, and I think like we need to take a bit more time to discuss this. But yeah, I don't know if anyone wants to take the stage. Sky, maybe. And yeah.
Just real quickly, just on that point that you mentioned right there, and that's interesting coming from kind of outside observers too, because we talk about it within DXDAO and the product strategy this weekly discussion as well. But I'm assuming that the restructuring and refocus posts and proposal make some assumptions for what the goals of DXDAO are, because you can't really propose these types of ideas without having some end goals in mind, but those end goals are not included in the post. So it would be good to understand what those assumed goals are, and then like how these things are going to achieve those goals. And if those goals don't exist or are not assumed, I'm wondering what this thing is moving towards and why. And if we can understand what those are, then we can have some basic framework around this proposal, which is trying to achieve something. And then if not, we should also figure out how DXDAO can come up with end goals, because it's not clear what these goals are. And then once DXDAO determines these goals, it becomes easier to come up with a plan to achieve those goals, I think. But I guess for the immediate, it would be good to understand what the assumed goals are for the already posted proposals and things.
My personal take, I'm trying to be level-headed, and it is in a way ignoring my the way that I would personally be affected. I just see that DAO is not being helped by this, it's being damaged. I've noticed it in Paris. Like, I haven't been a part of any chats. No one had included me in any chats. No one to this day has shared any screenshots with me. But when I was in Paris, I had not one, not two, but 3 different people accidentally mentioned to me that they have trouble sleeping and that their work process has been disrupted. And those are actually developers. And it came out of the blue for me. And so I'm wondering, with the upcoming retreat where people have booked flights, hotels, I'm just wondering how this is really helping.
Yeah, Gusi, you want to talk?
Yeah. Regarding to what Nathan said about, for example, like being hard to work in an environment where you don't have enough trust to face conflict, right? To bring conflict to the table. This is something that I was talking yesterday with Tommy, with Tomas, one of the members of Laterals. We were talking about. He was asking me about where do I think that we should work the most on the retreat. In the organization level, right, to come up as a stronger organization and more organized after the retreat. He mentioned to me a lot of texts and think that he studied on how they work with organizations to work in a more healthier and transparent and moreover healthier environment, right? So this is something that I also was talking with some developers in the scope, which again, I think developers are the ones who are in the trenches, right? Who are like building the products. Then they are the first step toward they write the lines of code that later DXbiz or other members of the organization, right, needs to communicate, which is a very important part of the process. But developers are very important, and we should be making sure that they are going to work in a super healthy environment, because working for a DAO is already like very complex. It's a tough social challenge, right? And besides that, regarding the proposal, I think in terms of damaging the DAO, basically destroying something that it took years to build. We have a lot of brains, persons, and people that was brought into the DXDAO because they were interested in what we were building, right? And we still have this idea around of, okay, on what we are really working on, where we are going towards. I think one of the end missions here is to make money, because with money we are going to be able to continue working all together and building cool stuff. So this is the mean to an end. Maybe something that we lost sight on the road, but it doesn't. It is no excuse to suddenly reduce half of the DAO and have a longer runway and have a more pyramidal structure or something like that. I think that's going to essentially destroy what we are. What we should be thinking on is, okay, how we improve as an organization, how we become healthier, more organized, have clear responsibilities. We having enough trust so we can bring conflict to the table and create accountability, a healthier accountability, right? So I think that's the steps moving forward here. And something that, again, I talked with Thomas and later Melanie, we have to meet with them. There is a lot of that we have to work on the retreat, and I have a lot of faith that it's going to be very good for all of us there to work on this, and hopefully find solutions there in person.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say that in general, like I understand what Nathan is saying, but yeah, I think DXDAO will pull through and be even better out of it, because yeah.
I'm not sure, Elon. I'm not sure, man. Honestly, like I've been chatting to people, and in all honesty, even if everything went back to normal, you just have such a bad taste in your mouth. You feel disgusted. Like back in the days, you wake up, you have this passion, you have this enthusiasm, you feel like a family, and you work together. That there's a Pink song. This used to be a fun house, and now it's full of, you know what? It doesn't feel the same anymore. And it even if somehow it goes even back to normal, it wouldn't be normal. There's no back to normal. It's like irreparable. And like
no, Nathan, we are just going through a process where most startups and any usual companies go. Something now that I remember that Tommy mentioned me yesterday is that I don't know who he referred to, but he told me that usually there are 4 stages in an organization, in a company. The first one is the forming, then comes the storming, then the norming, where you set the rules, and then the performance, where you have the rules to increase the performance. So right now we are in this storming section, right? We are in this storm where what we have to do is hold together, came up with more clear and healthier norms and rules of organization, communication, and we are going to, like Nano say, came out from all these difficult discussions that sometimes we need to have, like John mentioned a lot of times when presenting this restructure, tough discussions that we need to have. So this is part of confronting all these conflicts or issues. They may or may not exist, but we should talk about it.
Yeah, the key word here is we. We don't need less people making decisions. That is actually what is failing us. We need more people. We need to act as a DAO. We need more people making decisions, because there are people in the organization, time and time again, offering a fresh point of view, an outsider's perspective, asking critical questions, and they get brushed to the side because every squad's got leaders, and there are people who act as influencers, and then we just move along in this momentum. We're in this slumber. Yeah, we need to wake up. We need to refocus. We need to re-strategize. That is valid. There is stuff in the proposal that makes sense, but it's not for someone to self-appoint themselves and automatically, indirectly, call everybody else a chump. Like, your opinion doesn't matter. We're no longer a DAO. We're no longer deciding together. We no longer have a trustless governance system on chain where we all vote. It's a bunch of people deciding now. It just doesn't make sense. And if you look at the proposal, look at those 3 points. What's different?
Nathan,
there's nothing different.
It might present a more concentrated way of making decisions, but also I agree that we should be maybe more involved in all of us in the governance aspect if we desire to, which I think is great. For example, I see here Dino and Milton that they shown this year the DAO just as developers, and now they are most probably listen to whatever we are discussing on the DAO that they are working on, and this is one of the reasons that I lure them into. Like, you can have a direct connection, a direct impact on the DAO, on what you're building, and be really part of it. So yeah, this is our responsibility. We are going to be more people making decisions. Hopefully, eventually the DAO is going to decide, and I think the best way to start speaking and to start showing some initiative and union and attacking this everything straight on is start making revenue, making our investors happier, making DXZ holders happier, right? Make them feel more involved, not just right away, not take any rush decisions, but this is what we need to do. We need to make money to create more cool products. So, well, at least that's my opinion. So I think when we start seeing that's also very, very tough to do. What we are doing is very hard, Nathan. It's not easy at all. We are just 30 people from all over the world trying to build cool, decentralized finance applications and earn money with it in a very competitive market. I think we have everything that we need to succeed, but yeah, we need to organize ourselves. This is definitely the hardest part, but at least we are acknowledging the problem and we are going to work on it. And I think I speak already a lot. Maybe someone else wants to talk.
I want to say that I very much agree with you, Augusto, like with pretty much everything you said. And I think Yeah, I mean, you were always like sort of like very optimistic, I would say, Nathan. So like wondering why. I mean, I guess I know why, but want to get you that optimism back. And I think, yeah, like Augusto said, like we're doing a very, very hard task. Like making money as a startup, that's already very difficult, and then also doing this as a decentralized organization is a few levels like more difficult. And yeah, I will say that I think yeah, like just like Augusto said, we need to take some time and we need to slow down and we need to plan and we need to figure out what is the structure. And I think, I don't know, I mean, Nathan, you said like everybody should vote on, or like more people should participate in governance. And I mean, I agree to some degree, but I also think like we need to find like what's the structure that allows sort of like autonomy and goal setting and staying accountable to whatever is the goal of DXDAO and whatever are the tasks that we're meant to do. And yeah, I mean, I've said this many times before, but there's no one else that is actually doing this. There's no one else that is genuinely asking these exact questions in the entire ecosystem. It's mostly like make-believe in like plain decentralization. We are literally the only ones who are genuinely trying to figure this out. So yeah, it's not going to be easy. So yeah.
Alan, I just feel like we're turning our backs on what's been built in the past 3 years. Like we have so many posts, we have so many people that have done an amazing work, like John, Sky, Chris, Keenan, publicly speaking about what the DAO is about, what we've been building and how we're different. If something like this, which I'm highly skeptical, passes, we will be a completely different animal, and all that history we have in the past will be invalid. Will no longer be that.
I mean, I think like a part of this discussion is trying to figure out, so that entire thing, I think it, like that post generated like big discussion around yeah, like what's the future of DXDAO, and I think that's very important. You want to shake things up. I hope that the proposal won't pass in its current terms, but yeah, I do think we need to propose some changes, and I do think we need to see how we're doing better and changing things. And it's good to have like an extreme thing, so we can at least discuss what we want to do and how we want to change. So yeah. Did anyone else want to talk? I think I saw some like unmutings. Yeah, David's telling us to do Scrum. Maybe we should. But yeah, I don't know anyone else. John, Melanie, want to chat?
Yeah, I would just like to say, like, I don't know, I feel like we have the same issues like we have discussed like last year in Portugal, and I think like it would be good to at least have some timeline, how long it takes like to resolve these issues until it becomes like too late. I think it's good that this is sparking a discussion, but yeah, I mean, I think it would be good to resolve this by some amount of time. Otherwise, it can be like too late. At least be like, until we can solve it until Colombia or something like that. So we have like a timeline, I guess. Yeah, for this, it's very overdue at this point.
What timeline do you refer, Violet? I mean, we are meeting Colombia, and we are meeting in a month also.
Yeah, I think that's a good time, definitely.
Problem here is who will solve it. Who will solve this? All of us together, Benki. you are going to be one of the people who is going to help solve everything, as you have a kind of leader position in Swapper, right? So I think it's going to fall mostly over the squad leaders, right? Or organization leaders to find solutions to this.
I was meaning about figuring out the goals of DXDAO, especially like what should the squad focus as, like this pivotal North Star? What if it is going to be building decentralized products, or
let's see, that's one of the things that we should be discussing on Colombia, and maybe we can start discussing it right before. But for me, I think we are going to make way better use of our time there in person, talking about this, and rather than continue talking on. I mean, these are important issues, right? So they deserve a lot of attention, and once that we are there in person, it's going to be easier.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of information asymmetry. I attended a call last week that was a high-level discussion between the DXGov devs regarding governance 2.0. And it seems like it was across the board, developers feeling like they don't know what other squads are doing. They themselves were not very well familiar in depth with governance 2.0 itself. I know for a fact that people in the Swapper squad are heads down building a lot of features in Swapper, and they don't know much about the guild. So we like, as I said previously, in this momentum and this slumber, going like sleepwalkers, as if someone is chasing us. We can literally stop work for a week and nothing will happen. Nothing bad will happen. It's not like we need to mind to something every single second or it breaks. And we've said it like several times. It won't hurt us to just, chat, discuss, familiarize ourselves with what each squad is working on, how it interacts with each other. We've been chatting way back last year about building interoperable composable Lego pieces, right? When we were doing the network switcher in DX Vote, we used the network switcher we used for I'm not sure, was it Aqua and also Swapper? And so if we have more of that, we'd be more efficient. And there's nothing stopping us from doing it. But with all this stress, I have to keep doing this. I have to work on that. I have to work on this. I have to push this. And in the end, we're pushing a ton of features and there's no money coming from it. Then why all the hurry then? If we're like running in circles and not bringing revenue, we should definitely stop and rethink. It's not necessarily that we're doing anything wrong. Of course, it doesn't mean it's right if it's not wrong, but it's all about communication and working together. There are a lot of ways we could turn things around, and as several of you have already said, the entire space is in a similar situation. It's like, why all of a sudden we have all this notion that we're losers? If we compare ourselves to 99% of the rest of the space, we've done much better.
And we can do way better too.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard, but we can.
Like we can have each dApp broken into components, high level, like front end, back end, smart contracts.
Yeah, Nathan.
Yeah.
Regarding that, this is something that I'm going to try to pursue on my future contributor proposal, and I'm going to be meeting hopefully later this call with the swapper squad. I already shared my contributor proposal, my future one, with them, because one of the goals there is to start bringing this cross collaboration between squad, because like you said, all of the developers here write JavaScript. They use Web3.js. Some of the developers, they are already contributing on a smart contract development on Solidity. So there is a lot of things that we can share. All of them, they play the same sport. So we have everything ready to start cross collaborating and to create an environment where we can share information and knowledge in a more directly and healthier way, and also reward good sharing knowledge, right? So this is something that hopefully I'm going to be able to change soon, to start enabling more collaboration between developers, and with that increasing their expertise in experience. It was fun when I asked the DXgo developers, I think it was 2 weeks ago, like, hey guys, there is a lot of issues on Swapper, on Solidity. I checked them, and some of them, they are already, I consider some of the developers already ready to start attacking them. Do you want to start working on them? And they just answer straight yes, like they didn't even let me finish the question. So there is a lot of the developers, developers, they want to collaborate and they want to learn, and we just need to create a space for that. And it's going to be even more rewarding. I can say, by speaking the developer language, and if you are working here, you are looking for challenges, and you might run out of challenges after contributing on the same application for 3 months. So this is going to be interesting, and hopefully it's going to motivate the rest of the developers of DXDAO to find new challenges and contribute and collaborate with other team members.
I want to say that, maybe this is important, but I think maybe Venki touched on this a little bit. Like, I think the most important thing is to stop and figure out what we want to do and what are our goals. And by saying, like, what are our goals, let's say we want to have, 1,000 active wallets using Carrot, for example. This could be a goal, right? For, a year from now. If we don't reach this goal, then we do not get paid with extra DXT. This is just like an example I gave in the forums. But I think this is the first thing that we need to do, basically.
No. It's mixed, but it's not the truth. Like, it's not like the ultimate truth, because like if you have a tool that is not the tool that you had to build, and then you're asked to be efficient working with that tool, you just becoming more inefficient. Like you even wasting your time even more. Like re-strategizing, restructuring, refocusing means just like what we did with Amen. As John has said many times, it needs rethinking on a base level, like the protocol.
Yeah, but this is, I'm talking a level below Omen or Swapper or anything. I'm talking about what is the goal of DXDAO. And once we have the goal of DXDAO, we want to have 1,000 active wallets, monthly active wallets, whatever the metric is. We want to have 1,000 active wallets in our product. Then we will know what we need to lose, right? What do we need to give up on, and what do we need to focus on? but we needed to have like high level goals.
Yeah, but
And
Nylon,
then from there, and then from there you could say like, okay, so each squad, let's say, the DXbiz squad, we can say, okay, if we want to reach, if Carrot needs to reach 1,000 active wallets, then we need to have, I don't know, 20 different campaigns on Swapper that are funded by DXDAO and like incentivized, or like and just like this is the line of thinking that I have. And yeah, Venki, sorry if you want to take it.
Yeah, then I mean, I like the idea that we add incentives to the way that our products are performing, but the way that we are actually contributing, we pick individual tasks, right? And then we're hoping that DXDAO will be able to sell those products, like the DX Voice will be able to sell those products, DXbiz will be able to grow the products or increase partnerships and so on. So who sets those numbers would become problematic. So we might probably be better off if, let's say that, okay, DXDAO vests 500 DXT this quarter, something like that. And then if DXDAO is able to convert 1,000, so let's say if our goals are 1,000 wallets, then if it is like we reach about 700 wallets, then you vest 70% across all the contributors.
Yeah, this will come down the line because it's a little like jumping the gun. Chris shared an article about now Arbitrum Nitro being 10 times, 5 times, whatever, more efficient than even Binance Smart Chain, which is pretty centralized with their validators and miners. So Binance still has a ton of more volume because it's tied to the centralized exchange Binance. And Binance charge more if you wish to move your money to Arbitrum, and it's a lot cheaper if you move your money to Binance. And they're catering to a specific geography in the East, and it's a lot easier for them. So you could be an investor in Arbitrum and say, you built this amazing. I pretty much believe that Arbitrum are at the forefront, aside from ZK Tech in rollups and what they're doing with Nitro. I think we're really lucky to be on Arbitrum with Swapper, although we can't monetize. But you could be an investor in Arbitrum and say, point at Binance Smart Chain and say, why don't you have that volume? Like, what could they do? How can you fight with Binance? You do have on-ramps and off-ramps on Arbitrum. It's not like you don't have on-ramps and off-ramps, but still, there are certain entities in the space that have this momentum, and it's just a lot easier for them. And so if you jump the gun and start comparing yourself to them and putting metrics that you need to chase, you're losing the plot. Like you don't need to compare yourself with others to innovate. For example, we could start from scratch. We could do dApp chains. We could fork lending protocols, get bogged down with dealing with oracles, get exploited, all that shebang. We could do all that. Like, is it going to be much better? Like, how quickly can we monetize and start making money with those, right? Or are we going to waste another 2 years and end up with nothing? Or we could look at what we got in a tool stack. Like, we got guilds ready. We have Aqua. We got Carrot. Maybe we could start, incorporating one into the other. Have something that we've been talking about.
Listen, but listen, like I disagree with this approach, because I think, yes, we have a bunch of things, but we need to figure out what they want to focus on and what they want to give up on. I think this is the first step. And yeah, and you're talking about like Binance and Arbitrum, and I guarantee you that each one of these, companies, DAOs, whatever, they have specific OKRs and they have specific goals. And just like Venki said, if we reach 70% of our target goal, then we get 70% of the, DXT reward that we're meant to get. And this aligns people in the entire organization to work towards that goal. And if it doesn't happen, like, I mean, OKRs is basically, it's the most basic like goal setting like structure of.
Here's how I think. If you have Swapper at its current state and you are given a goal and you devote your entire time and attention and effort to reach that goal with the current Swapper, instead of rethinking how Swapper should work and integrate it with the guilds, Carrot, Aqua, then you miss on that opportunity about doing that. And that will build a much better product. So we're a little jumping the gun with those OKRs about users and whatnot. If we can have a guild that can govern Aqua, if we can have a guild that can govern Carrot, if we can have those interact with each other, we can have people create fan tokens to govern communities, use the guilds, create campaigns in Swapper.
Yeah,
we
but
have it
Nathan,
almost ready, almost to the finish line.
No, Nathan, I don't think that's true, because you're talking about how to govern certain products, but no one gives, like, I'll just say it like bluntly, no one gives a shit about these products. And we need to figure out, like, what do we need to do to make these products successful before we think about how we govern them. And like, some of these products we're going to have to give up on, and we're going to have to structure the focus of the entire DXDAO, like, it's an organization, to figure out what do we want to do and what we don't want to do.
Exactly. And this is what we've been talking on the DXbiz hub. We said we need mainly smart contract devs working on Swapper, and we can refocus and start working on integrating these dApps we have with each other. And that's front-end work. And this is stuff we could talk about on the retreats. But like, none of us here are putting a proposal to say, from now on, you and I will be governing this organization, and everybody else will just have to execute. And if you don't execute, you get executed, right? It's just not the environment people want to work in. Like, Zed was constructive. He said, can we chat on the Friday strategy call about thinking how we could lay people off if we find someone that can replace them, that can do a better job? We discussed it civilly. Zed didn't put a proposal on the forum saying, I'm now the king of the castle, right? We can be constructive. We can be critical of ourselves. We can think of refocusing and restructuring without burning bridges between ourselves. Like if I meet someone a month later, like, do I hug this person? Do I smile at this person? Or are we going to be hypocritical with each other, putting masks on our faces, smiling, but inside burning with hate? That's why I said some of the damage is irreparable. Even if we go back to normal, can we trust each other? Are we holding grudges? Like, I don't need this. But other people don't have the luxury. And if you let go of these people, if you make them unbearable for them to work, and they leave even on their own, what's the guarantee we can find someone that can, not even better, someone that can actually replace them? Because we know how complex the whole thing we're doing is, and how long it takes to onboard someone. As we mentioned earlier, we've got people working on products for months, and they don't know what other squads are working on.
I want to say maybe, I mean, I got to go, but I want to say maybe one thing that's, I mean, you said execute or get executed. And, you know, I think it's a bit extreme to say something like that, but, you know, that's how companies work. This is not a charity organization. You need to have people who can ship products and reach goals and do what they're supposed to. And if they're not good enough or if they don't deliver, then they don't need to be as part of the organization. And that's how companies, organizations, that's how they work. You have a goal to generate, to build product, to generate profitability. And if the organization can't do it, then it's going to have to let people go.
Yeah, but we need transparency. Like on the last BizDev call, Geronimo said he's interested in pursuing DApp chains, sovereign chains. Like he mentioned it on a Friday strategy call, and he also said, I don't want to shoot myself in the foot by adding it to the restructuring proposal. What? Like, if that's the plan, like maybe we're interested in that. Maybe it's cool. Let's pursue that. But like, I'm confused.
I think. Listen, I think Geronimo. Listen, I think Geronimo is raising initiatives basically that he thinks could improve DXDAO. I think everything goes. If he thinks that we should do our own chain, then he could sort of like advocate for this and see if he can convince people that this is worth it.
But is it a part of the proposal?
Is it what?
Is it a part of the proposal?
No, it's not. I mean, listen, that proposal is not binding. He hasn't proposed it to the DAO and it hasn't passed. He raised something in this forum. He raised a discussion, which is great. We want to discuss things. We want to talk about like the painful things that are happening because that's the only way to improve them, right? So that's the situation right now. I agree that, sort of like the clandestine nature of how this proposal was made with a few people signing it. I didn't like it either, but, whatever. I think everybody agrees that, we're not in a good situation and we need to improve it. So this is the proposal that got the discussion going. Great. Anyone else has any things they want to raise or talk about in this context?
Yeah, so the goals of DXDAO seem like the core thing, and some people think there are goals. Like Ross is saying, we all have the same goals. This proposal assumes there's some goals that DXDAO has. Some people say we don't have goals. Like, how do we? Yeah, the first step would be we need to write down what the goals of DXDAO are. People need to share those ideas, and then DXDAO needs to decide as a DAO what the goals of DXDAO are, right? Like otherwise, it seems like we're going in circles and we can't move forward if no one knows, if only some people or no one knows what the goals of DXDAO is trying to achieve, right? So do we have to start with that? And I don't know if we can wait till Bogota to start with that. We need to. The fact that no one here knows what DXDAO's goals are is already a major problem, right? How can we make more proposals on products or restructuring or refocusing without knowing the goals of DXDAO? So we need to do that now, not wait till Bogota. We need to start. We can, verify them in Bogota maybe, but we need to know what the goals of DXDAO are so that we can make all of the rest of the decisions based on what goal DXDAO is trying to achieve. Right? Is that the best place to start, basically?
Yeah, I agree. We should start talking about these things right now. And then maybe, sorry if it's loud, by the way. And then hopefully finalize them in Bogota. And then, there will be a final proposal in Bogota that everybody can vote on and agree.
Yeah, so if everyone could brainstorm what they think or want the goals of DXDAO to be, and if everyone proposes or everyone brainstorms this, and then we put those all together, we can cross-reference them, we can match them up, we can we can see if there's like 3 goals that come out at the top of the list and everyone has in their same mind. But yeah, people should start to share what they want the goals of DXDAO, or they think the current goals are. You could say, here are the current goals, here's what I think the future goals should be. But we need goals of DXDAO, I think.
And I will add that we also need actionable metrics to go along with these goals. And I hope that Zenki will be able to run a few workshops on that in Bogota.
And some of the questions we need to answer are actually operational. The way we work. John is right. Yeah, we know what our goals are. Building DeFi products, governing them, building them. And if you look at Swapper, does that match? Are we building and governing a DeFi protocol? Yes, but is it right? No. So it's not about what we're doing, it's about how we're doing it. And I mentioned that earlier. There are people suggesting ideas, but there are people with influence and people who are like squad leads who are not, they are not guilty of anything. The DAO is guilty of not having a process for decision making. We've mentioned this in the past. When did the DAO okay for the squads to do this? And then we say, yeah, the DAO doesn't need to do it. There's a squad leader. But isn't that actually clashing with what the DAO is? So we know what we need to build, DeFi products. We are building it, but we're not doing it right. And so the problem is more about how we operate, how we govern ourselves, the decision-making process.
I think it's a dangerous generalization to say our goal is to build DeFi products, because it doesn't say anything about whether they are successful, if they generate revenue, if they have any uses. That's dangerous. You need to quantify, how do you want them to be successful? What do you want to be measured by? Otherwise, you'll never fail, right? Okay, yes, we developed DeFi products. Here you go. Here's the code. But no one's using it. So what have you done?
We're doing it wrong with Carrot. We're doing it wrong with Swapper. We're doing it wrong with DXGov. They're not the wrong products, but we are building them and governing them in a way that isn't how we're supposed to be doing it. And we end up thinking, oh, someone is to blame. No one is to blame. We're all to blame. We've been doing it wrong.
Yeah, so let's regroup, rethink how we want to do these things, and figure out what we need to do, what we don't need to do. And yeah, who wants to stay and build these things?
Look, Nathan, you don't need to get stuck with the draft post that was posted on the forum or the discussions we had. In the end, it is the rep holders that decide, right? So nothing is written in stone. Whatever happened, if you're unhappy with how some people acted, it's okay. Let's show them something better, and then we can move on as a DAO. I think that's the best way to do it. So you agree there is some things we can improve on, and let's put them on paper on the discussion, and then we can see how we can move forward. And obviously, there's a lot of feelings. I feel you, Nathan. You're our biggest. You have a lot of energy and yeah, there is some. We have a small hiccup here, and I think we could try to get stronger from this, not feel weaker. I think we'll get stronger from this, and this is not like the first time we had issues. We should look at ourselves as startups. We're not inventing something entirely new, like on everything, but we should try to get stronger from this, and I think we will.
All right. Thanks for everyone speaking their mind. I hope I didn't go overboard. Please excuse me. I wish more of us could speak their minds. Please do so when we have calls or in the chats. As Zed says, it's all cool. It's constructive criticism. I hope we could move forward.
We will.
Yeah, we will. It'll be okay. We have like $40 million.
No, you don't. A few people do. All right, I'm joking.
We all do together.
You never know. We'll see. Cheers. Bye.
All right. Thanks everyone for staying a little longer, and yeah, see you tomorrow.
See you, man. Bye-bye.
Ciao.